Namaskar. Mimansa. Objectives. This chapter aims to highlight the contribution of Mimansa to Indian philosophy. A major interest of this school is interpretation. They can be considered to be the first in India to have embarked on interpreting the Vedas. Gems of her hermeneutic analysis found. Hence, this chapter, with varied sections on theory of knowledge and metaphysics, aims to bring out this aspect. In fact, the section on theory of knowledge contains such interpretative analysis. Some of the basic features of this chapter are interpreting the Vedas, theory of validity of knowledge, theory of error, theory of realism, theory of God. Introduction. Mimansa is a philosophical school advocating realism in India, which develops the ritualistic aspect of the Vedas. It must be noted that the Vedas depict two different aspects, the ritualistic and the speculative aspect of the sixth Orthodox system of philosophy. Astic Darsanas, Nyaya, Vaisesik, Sankhya, and Yoga developed their philosophies independently through owing allegiance to the Vedas, but Mimamsa and Vedanta are two schools which develops the two different aspects of Vedas. While Mimamsa develops from the ritualistic side, Vedanta develops from the speculative side of Vedas. In fact, it is because of this reason that philosophers are inclined to name them as Purv Mimansa, early Mimansa, or Uttara Mimansa, later Mimansa. They were also known as Karma Mimansa and Gyan Mimansa respectively. There are two ways in which Mimansa is useful to us today. Number one gives a methodology to interpretation with which the complicated Vedic injunctions regarding rituals can be understood. Number B provides a philosophical justification to the belief of which ritualism depends. The faith underlying Vedic ritualism is sustained by Mimamsa in the following ways. Number one, belief in the existence of a soul which survives death and enjoys the fruit of the rituals in the heaven. Number two, belief in some power or potency which preserves the effects of the ritual performed. Number three, belief in the infallibility of the Vedas. Number four, our life and actions are real and not dreams. Jaimini Sutra of Sutra is the work that laid down the principles of this school, Purv Mimamsa. Hence, Jaimini is thought to be the systematizer of this school of thought. Sabara Swami wrote the major commentary Bhasya of this work. There are many more commentators but the two most famous and important commentators are Kumaril Bhatt and Prabhakar Mishra, who founded the two schools of philosophy named after them, Bhatt School of Mimamsa and Prabhakar School of Mimamsa. The term Mimamsa etymologically means solution of some problem by reflection and critical examination. Theory of knowledge. As Mimamsa was interested in interpreting the Vedas, they prominently discussed the nature and validity of knowledge, criterion of truth and falsity, sources of valid knowledge is the nature and scope of knowledge, the knowledge which gives some new informations about something and is not contradicted by another knowledge, and which is not generated by defective conditions like defective sense organ or fallacious argument, is valid knowledge. Mimamsa admits two kind of valid knowledge, immediate and mediate. Immediate knowledge arises in the soul when the object is the direct contact with both the internal sense organ mind and the external five sense organ. This perception arises in two stages. When we see an object, there is uh, indeterminate perception of that object, a bare awareness of it, knowing that it is an object but not knowing what object it is. It is indeterminate immediate knowledge, nirvikalpa pratyaksha. When we come to interpret that object on the basis of our previous knowledge, we understand it as something. That is determinate perception, savikalpa pratyaksha, which is expressed in the statements like this is a man and this is a table, etc. These two stages of perception no doubt gives us valid knowledge. However, the objects are not known explicitly in the first stage, yet what is known clearly in the second stage is implicitly known in the first stage. This means that the mind only interprets what it sees in the first stage with the help of past experience. It does not uh, ascribe something imaginarily. Hence, perception result in valid knowledge. Now, what we just saw is perceptual knowledge. Are there non-perceptual source of knowledge? What are they? Mimansa accepts five more four non-perceptual knowledge, perceptual source of knowledge. They are inference, anuman, comparison, upman, verbal testimony, sabda, postulation, arthapatti, and non-perception, anuplati. The last source of knowledge is accepted only by Kumaril Bhatta's school of Mimansa and not by Prabhakara's school of Mimansa. The Mimansa understanding of Mimansa understanding of inference is similar to that of Nyaya, and hence we need not discuss it here. Mimansa understanding of comparison. After Nyaya, Mimansa accept comparison as an independent source of knowledge. According to Nyaya, we get valid knowledge of an object by comparing it with what is already known. That is, we understand the new object through comparing it with what is already known by us. Here, Mimansa differs from Nyaya school of philosophy. To the Mimansa, we do not get the knowledge of the new object from the knowledge of similarity that exists between this object and the known object, but we get the knowledge of similarity that is there between the object that is seen and the remembered object. For example, Nyaya would say that when we see the new object, namely a gavaya or wild ox, we are told that the wild ox is similar to the domestic cow and that the difference is that the ox is wild. So we derive knowledge of new object by comparing it with what has already been known. But the same example will be understood by Mimansa differently. To them, when we compare the ox with the cow that is already known, we derive the knowledge of similarity that exists between the two. This source of knowledge is independent and cannot be classed under perception or inference as done by other school of philosophy, except neither knowledge of similarity is the new cognition here, and then that is not derived from any other source of knowledge. According to Mimansa understanding of sabda is a knowledge obtained from the verbal authority. This source of knowledge is very important for the Mimansakas. It is with this that they are going to justify the impersonal authority of the Vedas. It was seen as the sabda is of two kinds, personal and impersonal. That is, knowledge derived from the words spoken or written by an individual, or knowledge derived from the Vedas, which have not been written or spoken by the individual. Again, authority may either give information on the existence of something or merely give directions for the performance of an action. Mimansa is interested only in the knowledge from the Vedas, and that too about the injunctions laid down in its regarding the performance of certain actions. In fact, they are of the view that any part of the Veda which does not give information on the performance of rituals but is said to speak about existence of something, immorality of the soul, or existence of god, etc., is useless. They just wanted to highlight what is essential for the performance of rituals. Hence their philosophy is referred to as ritualistic pragmatism. According to most of the schools admitting the authority of the Vedas, it is god who is the author of the Vedas. But for Mimamsa, Vedas are impersonal, not written or spoken by any person. They come forward with elaborate arguments to suggest the impersonal authority of the Vedas by asking the following question: if the Vedas had any author, and then his name would have been known and remembered. Even those who say that Vedas are not eternal but produced are not in agreement with each other on the origin of Vedas. Some say that God is the author of the Vedas, while some say that it is Prajapati or Hiranyagarbha, and thus the argument goes on. Those people who regards Vedas to have been written think vaguely on the basis of the analogy of ordinary books written by human beings, and say that even the Vedas should have an author. The names of certain persons are cited in the Vedas, but they are only seers to whom the Vedas are revealed, or the founders of different Vedic schools. Now it is maybe asked that the Vedas are composed of words, and that these words are produced and non-eternal. Let us see the reply of by the Mimamsakas here. To them, the words are not really the perceived sounds. These sounds are produced by the speaker and heard by the listener. No doubt, but words are really the letters which are partless and uncaused. A letter like K is uttered and revealed by different persons at different places and times and in the different ways. Though these letters sound very, we recognize that the same letter is pronounced. This identity shows that the words are not produced at any time and place but transcendent themselves. Here we find a linguistic analysis by the Mimansakas. Hence, Mimansa regards works as later which is eternal and as having an uncaused existence. The Vedas enjoin certain ritual duties with bear fruits like attainment of heaven, etc. Now if the Vedas have been written by anybody, then we have to ask who that person is, who has the capacity to know the past, present and future in order to declare the connection between the action and the result. If we agree that the Vedas have an author, then we might have to agree with the Charvakas that this author is cunning deceiver because of what is contained in the injunctions. The Vedas are not vitiated or by any defects to which the works of imperfect being are subject. Thus, the Mimamsakas hold that the Vedas are impersonal and that they are not the works produced by any person. The applicability of the Vedas to all times itself shows that they are not the products of a particular time, place, and individual. The Mimamsakas very clearly state that this knowledge cannot be classified under perception or inference. They assert that the validity of every knowledge is assured by the condition which generate that knowledge. So the knowledge derived from authority carries with itself such assurance of its own truth. Mimamsa understanding of postulation, Arthapatti, Datta and Chatterjee state that postulation is the necessary supposition of an unperceived fact which alone can explain a phenomenon that demands explanation. When a given fact cannot be explained without proposing another fact, then this other fact is postulated in order for us to obtain knowledge of that given fact. For example, when we see a man going far but fasting during the day, we cannot explain how this is happening. The two facts of fatness of and fasting cannot be reconciled. In order to clarify this we need to postulate that that this may be due to heredity or because he eats during night. And unless we postulate this, we cannot explain the fatness of the person. This is a postulation. This knowledge cannot be brought under perception or inference. The person eating in the night is not perceived by us, nor is there any inseparable vyapti relation between eating in the night and becoming fat. Hence, this source of knowledge cannot be brought under perception or inference. Another example that can be given here explains that this source of knowledge is used by us in daily life. When, for example, we go to the friend's house and we see that he is not at home, we postulate that he must be somewhere outside. This is postulation. This postulation alone can help us explain how a person who is alive is not to be found in the place where he is supposed to be home. And this kind of knowledge cannot be grouped under perception, inference, and testimony. We also say that industry is the key to success. Here, the term key does not denote the real key, but suggests its secondary meaning. This is postulation. Mimansa understanding of non-perception apnupabdhi. This source of knowledge is accepted by one of the school of Mimansa, namely Bhatta's school of Mimansa and Advait Vedanta, to them non-perception is the source of our immediate knowledge of non-existence of a thing. I say that a jar does not exist here only because I do not perceive it. This is non-perception. This is what should not conclude that all non-perception lead to the conclusion of non-existence of what is not perceived. We do not perceive a table in the dark, nor we do perceive such supersensible entities as atoms, either ether, virtue, vice, etc. Yet we do not judge them to be non-existent. Why? This is because if a thing should have been perceived under certain circumstances, only then its non-perception under those circumstances would give us a knowledge of non-existence of that entity. The supersensible entities are those who are beyond our senses, so we cannot say that we are non-existent when we do not see them. Validity of knowledge. Validity of knowledge according to Mimansa is called स्वतः Pramanyavad. Let us see what is it. How is knowledge valid? what are the conditions of the valid knowledge. For example, if I have to see a thing, may I should be free of defect. If there is defect in my eyes, then I cannot see the thing clearly. Hence the condition that generates knowledge should be free of defect. Only this will result in valid knowledge. Moreover, this knowledge should be beyond doubt. Mimansa draws two conclusions from this. Number a, validity of knowledge arises from the very conditions that give rise to that knowledge and not from any extra conditions. Pramanyam स्वतः उत्पद्य थे. The number B, the validity of knowledge is also believed in or known as soon as the knowledge arises. This belief does not wait for any verification by something else. This Mimamsa view is known as the theory of intrinsic validity. Swatah Pramanavad. This means the truth is self-evident. It is not varied by any other conditions. This is the validity of any knowledge is evident in the conditions that generate that knowledge. Now, what if this knowledge is contradicted by any other knowledge? In such sense, we infer the falsity of knowledge. Thus, while validity of knowledge arises from the conditions from which that knowledge arises, falsity of that knowledge arises due to extraneous conditions. Dr. S. Radhakrishnan quotes, ज्ञानस्य प्रामाण्यम स्वतः अप्रामाण्यम परतः. Mimamsa theory of error. The truth is self-evident and every knowledge is true. Then how does error arise? For example, if we mistake a rope to be a snake, we are afraid of a rope, and as long as we think it to be a snake, only when we realize that it is not the snake and that it is a rope, we come out of that fear. Now knowledge of rope as a snake is an error. How does this error arise when all knowledge is valid? There are two answers for this question in the two schools of Mimansa, Bhatt school and Misra school. Let us look into them now. According to the Prabhakara Mishra school, every knowledge is true and that nothing false ever appears in error. Their theory of error is known as uh, Akhya, Akhyatavad and denial of illusory experience. Let us see the view now with the rope snake example. When I perceive a rope as a snake, there is a mixture of two types of knowledge: the perception of a long thing, perceived thing, and the other memory of a snake perceived in the past, remembered thing. Here, the distinction between the perceived thing and the remembered thing is not perceived by us. Hence, we are afraid of a rope as tough. It is a snake. Now behavior towards rope is faulty and not our knowledge, because there are two kinds of knowledge here, namely knowledge of a long thing and our memory of a snake without the knowledge of distinction between them. Therefore we do not enormously perceive a rope to be a snake, but that there is only a cognitive defect coupled with non-discrimination. This is negative according to the Prabhakar Mishra school of Mimamsa, but not the same as error. Error is not merely want of knowledge but a positive mental state. The Bhatt school of Mimamsa does not accept this view. To them, mere non-discrimination cannot explain error. We cannot deny that sometimes the illusory object appears positively before us. If my eyeball is pressed while looking at the moon, if the two moons positively appears before us. The snake illusion is also similar to this. Now Bhatta school argues that when we perceive the snake in a rope and judge it is a snake, both the subject and the predicate are real. The rope is brought under the class of snakes which also exist. Then how does error arise? It is simple. Error consists, however, in relating into these two really existing but separate things in the subject predicate way. Thus error is always wrong relation and is not to be found in the object. The Bhatta theory of error is known as Vipari विपरीत क्या विपरीत ख्यातिवाद. Thus the Prabhakaras exempt all knowledge from error, while the Vattas admit that Error may affect some cognitive relations of the object, though the objects themselves are always correctly perceived. One thing common to both schools is that error affects actively rather than knowledge. Thus, error becomes an exceptional case of the falsification of the normal claim that every knowledge makes for the truth. Theory of reality. Mimansa theory of reality is based on their theory of perception. When we perceive objects. Moreover, the theory of स्वतः प्रमाणवाद theory of intrinsic validity of knowledge enables us to understand the reality of objects. Mimanskas are realist and pluralist. The universe is real and is independent of the mind which perceives it. Thus, the world is eternally there for them. It is neither created nor destroyed. However, they also seem to believe in souls, heaven, hell, deities to whom sacrifice is to be performed. In addition to the world, death is accepted as real by them. The Mimansakas are too like the Vaisesikas believe in the reality of atoms. However, they do not postulate an efficient cause for for the arrangement of atoms in order for the emergence of the world. Instead, they believe in the law of karma to have regulated the order or arrangement of atoms. Being realist, they categorize the reality. Prabhakara's admit of eight such categories: substance, dravya, quality, guna, action, karma, generality, samanya, inherence, mm, Paratantra, force, Shakti, similarity, Sadrasya, and number, Sankhya. Kumaril divides all categories into positive, Bhavya, and negative, Abhava. Prior, posterior, absolute, and mutual are the four kinds of Abhava. The positive categories, Bhavas, are also four. They are substance, quality, action, and generality. He brings force and similarity under substance. Theory of souls. Jeminis does not offer any detailed proof of the reality of soul. However, he seems to accept the arguments of the Vedanta. He distinguishes the self from the understanding and the senses. The self is neither the body, nor the sense, nor even the intellect. It is the cognizer. Shavar accepts the reality of a permanent cognizer which is known by itself and incapable of being seen or shown by others, says Radhakrishnan. Their interest is interpreting the Vedic injunctions and bringing fruits either in this life or in the afterlife has forced them to accept a soul which survives even when the body is destroyed at the time of death. The Mimamsakas accept plurality of selves in order to account for variety of experiences. Bondage and liberation. According to Prabhakar, liberation consists in the total disappearance of dharma and adharma, whose operation is the cause of rebirth. Another important term that needs mention here is apurva, the unseen force or imperceptible attendance of the fruit in our action. All acts bear fruits. Of course, not all acts can result in its purification immediately. Some may effect a result later. Gemini assumes the existence of such unseen force as apurva. It can be considered as the metaphysical link between the action and its result. Now it is this unseen force that determines whether the soul is in bondage or liberated. Hence, Mimamsa prescribed that certain duties as enjoined in the Vedas are to be performed. These duties help men in the right path are are responsible for delivering good results. The highest good, according to early Mimamsa, appeared to have been the attainment of heaven or the state of bliss. However, the later Mimamsa thinkers fall in line with the other Indian philosophical schools in holding that the highest good is liberation or freedom from bondage to the body. To them, liberation is an unconscious state which is free from the pleasure and pain. In Mimamsa, atheistic Mimamsa, we have seen interprets the ritualistic side of the Vedas. Thus, this school emphasizes the idea of dharma, that is, the criteria of discussion here is how men ought to live. Whatever has been said about knowledge is its validity or about error is in relation to this idea of dharma. Now, what is their conception of God? Do they believe in the existence of God? It must be mentioned that the Mimansakas believe in the authority of the Vedas, but the traditional conception of Mimansa is atheistic. Non-belief is the existence of God. However, authors like Max Muller finds it difficult to believe that the Mimansakas who believe in the authority of the Vedas do not believe in the existence of God. Accepted by the Vedas, the Mimansakas argue that if the Creator God is accepted, then he is liable to the charges of cruelty, partiality, etc. Therefore, they deny any such creator God. However, Max Muller contends that this need not to be construed as a case of atheism because even Advait Vedant in India and Spinoza in the West do not accept a creator God. However, it must be mentioned that there is no inference to God by the early Mimamsakas, while the later Mimamsakas reject the proof of the existence of God. Thus, Mimamsakas seem to be atheistic. It must be pointed out that Mimamsaka accept Vedas, which talks of a variety of gods, sun, moon, fire, etc. There are at best deities who are not objects of worship. They are not referred to as existing somewhere bound by space-time continuum, nor are they imaginary entities. Instead, they are eternal and self-manifesting entities described by the eternal self, revealing Vedas. The Mimamsa was interested mainly in the performance of rituals, and these gods was spoken of only insofar as they help men perform the ritual with pity. Thus, we see that in its great anxiety to maintain the supremacy of this Vedas, the Mimamsas even relegated God to an ambiguous position. Let us sum up. Mimansa is an orthodox school of Indian philosophy. It believes in the authority of the Vedas, a realistic and pluralistic school of philosophy. However, they are considered to be non-believers in God. Concept of apurva in unseen force that delivers the result of our actions. Conception of liberation is attainment of heavens by earliest thinker and freedom from bondage by later thinkers. Thank you.